Hello, everybody. Russell Hill with WTF, and that's What the FixedOPS podcast. And today I'm joined by.
Hello, everybody. I am Charity Dunning, the co-host here at the What the FixedOPS podcast. And today we're really excited. We have April Simmons, the corporate internet director and marketing director at Horne Auto Group. Welcome, April.
Super excited to be here. Thank you both for having me. I've known Russell for a good amount of time, and Charity, I've heard nothing but amazing things. So super excited to spend a little time with you today.
Thank you. I've heard great things about you too. And for the people that don't know you, introduce yourself. Tell us who you are.
So my name is April Simmons. As you said, I'm with Horne Auto Group here in Arizona. I actually grew up in Nebraska. That's where I'm originally from. I've been here in Arizona since '99. This is officially my 27th year in the car business. I've done a little bit of everything. I've been 7 years as a retail desk manager, 8 years in finance, then moved into the internet department. When I came to work for Horne Auto Group, I basically lined out what my current job is. I said, you need me, and this is why, and this is the job you need me for. And they said, okay, well, if you think that, then come in and show us what you got. And so I did. And I've been with Horne Auto Group in this capacity since 2018.
My gosh. How on earth did you get here? How did you set a precedent, and have you ever had anything to do with automotive? I mean, tell us a little bit.
Okay. So yeah, that's that big question, right? Like, how did you end up here? I am one of those. I think everybody. There's two ways you get into automotive, right? Either one, your family's in automotive, or two, you accidentally fell into it. So I am the latter. I accidentally fell into it. Back in Nebraska, I graduated high school early with honors in business. I started to really love that idea. Didn't know what area I wanted to go into. And at the time, I was actually managing restaurants, which I loved. But then I got into a bad car accident. And as life would be, sometimes the worst things that happen are the door that we needed to open to push us into something else. So I decided to go work for a bank in Omaha. And that particular bank bought all the loans from the automotive dealerships in the area, which is where I started to really learn how. I mean, this is back when we used to, before we even faxed, right? They actually brought the loan applications to the bank. Like, this is where I aged myself slightly, right? And I did dealer reserve by hand. So this is back when we used to do things this way. And I thought, man, I think I want to be a finance person. I think that looks like a really fun job. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't realize, you can't just walk into a car dealership and be a finance manager. Of course, I thought that's what you could do. Fast forward, I actually moved to the Chicago Metro for about a year before I moved to Arizona. I was offered a position at Nationwide Insurance prior to even getting to the state, because a friend of a friend was like, hey, we really need some help with customer service here. Can you help us out? I said, sure, because I didn't have a job, so might as well. And 30 days later, she said, the agent said, April, you're selling more policies than my agents, so I need you to go get licensed so that you can, appropriate that. So I did that. And then I went through my first winter in Chicago and said, yeah, I'm kind of over this. And moved to sunny Arizona because they told me I did not have to shovel sunshine. And I thought, okay, well, that sounds like a really good plan for me. So I moved here in '99, and that's when I officially went into the retail side of automotive and started actually in the office, because when I moved here, I didn't know anybody. I had to pay my own bills. I was a young female, and so I said, okay, I'll go into the office, and I sold on the side, which sounds really bizarre, but I was so scared of commission only. I said, okay, I can use commission as supplement, but I think that's a little aggressive to go at it full fledged. So I did a little bit of that, and they had just gone through a buy sell. So I got to learn a lot of how that works. And fast forward, I started backing up finance. Well, accidentally, what happened, I probably got the opportunity sooner than most, because my finance director was getting ready to go on 3-month maternity leave. And 2 weeks prior to that, the other finance manager quit.
Oh.
So
Lucky you.
Yeah, fire hose finance manager. And so I kind of jumped right in, learned that, and was able to really be successful. I did that for 8 years, got bored of it, said I want to be on the desk, and then transitioned to the desk. Was on the desk for 7-8 years. And then the general manager came to me and said, April, I keep hiring internet people and they can't sell. You can sell. I need you to go learn the internet. And that's kind of how I ended up in the internet department, and really realized where people were failing in the internet department was that they didn't understand that it was the same thing, that you still needed to go through the steps of the sale. The steps of the sale were just happening prior to somebody walking in the front door. And so I just took everything that I knew and understood and applied it to the internet, and was hugely successful in doing so. Kind of created a little bit of a niche, and from there, self-taught marketing. I took every minute of time off I had. I called every vendor. I was like, where can I go learn this stuff? And really learned over the next few years how to hold vendors accountable, how to look at Google Analytics, how to, understand all those things, because that was a huge part of being successful, was also understanding that piece of it. So I did that, and started to have a name for myself in building teams and doing that. And so then I was a GSM. I was a GM for a little bit. And then Horne Auto Group was like, well, we want you to come be a GM at one of our stores. And I said, actually, I think I want to do this. And said, I think you guys need a corporate internet marketing director, because most GMs don't understand it. It's 50+% of the variable operations in a store, and most people don't understand it. So that's really what I lined out and what I do for the group. And in fact, FixedOPS was something that I started to get really passionate about, because while GMs don't understand marketing, FixedOPS really doesn't understand marketing.
Isn't that the case, though?
I mean, to this day, I will tell you guys, I still have arguments with people because they believe that people just show up when it comes to the service lane. I'm like, that no marketing is needed, that people just show up. And I'm like, well, let's look at the facts. As my friend Brooke Furnace says, right? Facts, not feelings.
That's right.
Let's look at the facts. So that's where we're at now. And it's been an exciting journey, and I no longer have a lane. I just do whatever needs to get done whenever it needs to get done.
Well, you're quite the go-to, and it's amazing. It's like 80 to 85% of general managers really don't understand the fixed side at all. Very, very few of them actually do. And that's okay. I mean, it obviously works because they surround themselves with people who do, but then they really don't even understand the marketing side for that as well. Now, I don't know. This is why I wanted April on here. Now, a lot of you know her. We have a tremendous following. Our show, 3 years this month, we're celebrating with April Simmons. And I got to tell you, I don't know. I see her everywhere. Digital dealer, NADA, Clubhouse, other Zoom calls. There's a lot of them out there, and I've gotten to know her more and more and more. And it's one of those things. April may not look at herself this way. And we had a conversation not too long ago about this, but it's almost like, for all of you that remember the E.F. Hutton commercial, it's like when E.F. Hutton speaks, everybody stops and listen. Well, that's kind of like April. And April is just these tremendous breakouts with other women, et cetera, really involved with women in the business. But a lot of you never even heard the story you just heard. So this is part of what this is about. It's not just about what she does, but it's how she got here, being a woman in this industry, et cetera. But one of the things we talked about not too long ago is that she didn't have any time. Now, I didn't say this to you then, but you've taught me a little bit. You taught me a lot. I've only implemented a little bit of time blocking and just what that means. With everything that I'm doing, with our company growing the way it's growing, being involved in all things, all hours of the day, et cetera, it's like, man, some people just call to waste my time. I don't have time for it. I mean, I didn't really realize it until this level. Well, April's the same way. And I was real hesitant about, I've known you a couple of years now, maybe a little bit longer, real hesitant to ever reach out. But we know so many of the same people. And it's like the only way you really get to April, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if you're referred. Because if you had to listen to vendors all day, every day, because you're kind of like the gatekeeper for the whole group, not just a store. And we're not talking about just for sales. We're talking about fixed and marketing and internet. I mean, in every aspect, you're like the gatekeeper. You don't make it any further. Not that you ultimately, and you probably heavily influence the decisions, but you keep a lot of those people away so those people can do what they do best, which means that I don't even know how you find time to do it all. Do I got that right for the most part?
Oh, you completely got that right. And I think that that's really important. A lot of times people ask me now, well, how do you get to, the decision makers? How do you get to an April Simmons? And,
Yeah.
and quite frankly, it is by referral only, because I go after trying to talk to people in a proactive way, which means, as bizarre as it sounds, having conversations like this or having a clubhouse call where I can throw out what is the number one low-hanging fruit, what is my biggest problem that I have today that I want to solve. And then I get people like Russell Hill and Wendy Reeves and David Long and and Larry Feldman, all these amazing humans who then go, hey, you need to talk to this person because this person is the person who can help you fix that thing that you're talking about. And that is such a more efficient use of my time than to field the thousands and thousands of calls.
Oh my God.
Especially because everyone thinks they it's almost like they create the problem to solve rather than listening and asking me, what is your problem that you want to solve?
Yeah.
And if I told you, my blockers here, they get somewhere around 100 calls a day without exaggerating of no, you don't get to talk to her. No, she doesn't even have a phone. My phone is permanent D&D. Like it is do not disturb 100% of the time. I do allow my email to get sent out, but even with that, the reality of it is the majority of people, I get honestly, I get somewhere around 800 emails a day. So just trying to field through that while still simultaneously doing the job I'm setting out to do, you have to say no. And one of the things that I was not good at, and I'm still not great at, is saying no. It's hard sometimes when, you have to hone in. So even this year, I just had this conversation with my bosses where I feel like even with them, sometimes we get into these meetings and we're talking about, like I think of us like, the guy who has the plate spinning on all the things, right?
Yes, yeah.
And you're like, hey, at the end of the day, you don't want any of these to drop, but ultimately, can we move forward if all we're doing is trying to spin these plates? So let's pick the one thing and let's focus on it. Let's get it to the finish line, and then we can talk about the next thing. But we spend a lot of time talking in this industry and not a lot of doing in this industry. And I think that as we move into 2025, I'm challenging myself and I'm challenging everyone listening to this podcast. Let's do more doing and let's do less talking.
I agree. I totally agree. And I know we got a whole list. We hadn't even started yet. Hadn't even started questions. But I want to say this to everybody out there and be a little vulnerable here. I was afraid to reach out to April just because I listened to her. I know how she is. So it's one of those relations. She just got to know me and listen to me, and hopefully I was transparent in what I say. But she actually, I didn't reach out to her. She reached out to me. That was an honor. I freaked out. Well, I don't know if it was text or an email or something like that. I freaked out. I said, oh my gosh, it's April. Yeah, and just because she really does carry a big stick and if you don't know it, and you've probably heard it, I know you and I talk, you do. People really listen to what you have to say and they get it. And you teach so many people. You set a standard for so many people. And you know what? No is a complete sentence in itself. I find myself saying no, following it up with the reasons why I'm saying no. And when no is sufficient in itself, I'm not the greatest at it, but like you, I'm getting better. And with 2025 around the corner and all the vendors there are out there, I don't know, my camera keeps going in and out, but it sure does. So anyway, I wanted to say that I'm really excited. We got a lot of great stuff. And Charity, let's get a question out there.
Sure. Well, what is the 10-foot rule and why is that important to you?
Oh, it's my number one rule. And this is one of those rules that I think has gone to the wayside as we've gotten more into like the Zooms and the phone calls and the FaceTime, and we've gotten away from the human interaction. But the 10-foot rule to me is so important. It's the smile. It's what I've realized when I walk through showrooms today. You'd be surprised. I still do the 10-foot rule. Hey, is everyone taking care of you? Hey, how's your day going today? You'd be shocked how many people go, no, I'm not being helped. Wait, what? Time out. Okay, let me get you somebody, right? And it's
nobody even said hi to him.
So interesting to me because now the 10-foot rule is gone by the wayside, and therefore that means we're not helping people in our own house. We just walk on by and we just assume everybody knows what they're doing or knows who, that someone's taking care of them. And what I have found is that that's just not the case. So a simple how you doing and a smile goes so far, and early involvement. And I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're the janitor. You're allowed to say hi to people. I don't care if you're an advisor or you're the boss or you're the porter, or it doesn't matter what your role is. Just saying hi to people, you know how much it costs? Zero. Costs zero.
Let me guess. At this very moment, another vendor is walking up to your lot with something shiny to sell. Before you head back and hide in your office, let me take a minute to tell you about my friend Dawn Pelham and my friends over at Global Dealer Solutions. They exist to help you find solutions to problems, some of which you might not even know you have. Best of all, they can manage as many products and services as needed for you, helping cut down on multiple vendor visits and distractions. And if you need anything, you have one number to call or text for the response all dealers like to hear. On it, GDS understands that successful dealerships require more than a set it and forget it mentality. And they'll be with you every step of the way, from setup, implementation, training, and support. And if necessary, they'll even cancel non-performing products for you. No pushback, no arguments, just a solution here executing course corrections as needed. Check out gdsdealers.com to learn the difference and set up a time to meet. Let's see if they're a good fit for you.
I mean, it's your house. Mm-hmm. And if you're in your house, you're not going to walk by people and not even pay attention to them. Even so much, it happens rarely. I'm the 10-foot person. I'm always saying hello and engaging people. And if I ask where the restroom is, they try to tell me left, right, 3 doors down to the left and right. No, let me show you. Follow me. And I just turn and start walking. I don't even look if they're following me immediately. And I just say, hey, follow me. I'll show you where it's at. And they just start automatically coming. That is a great rule. You heard it. Everybody should be doing that. I mean, it's critical. People, especially a lot of those times, if they engage for just a second, I'll stick my hand out and I'll introduce myself and ask them what their name is. And if they say it and I can't, it's hard to pronounce or something, I'll try to pronounce it anyway. I'm usually pretty good at that. And they say, oh, nice try or spot on. That was great. Most people don't get it. But people just love that. Pay attention to them. Okay.
It is.
Stuff.
So the idea is to say hello or to greet anyone within 10 feet.
Yes. And it doesn't have to be, it's not like always going out and shaking their hand and trying to get them.
Yeah, right.
A lot of times it's just a quick, how you doing? Everyone taking good care of you here today? That's it. It's not a big deal. And that's probably my Midwestern roots. My dad instilled that in me from the time I was very little, right? It's just a respect thing. You open doors for your elders and you say hi to everybody. I grew up in a town where they still do the 1-finger wave, when you drive by people. So
now, okay. So that's really, truly like that. Cause there's another kind of 1-finger wave and that's true. That's true. Right. That's letting you know that you're number one. Right?
That's reserved for real special people.
Yeah, it sure is. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Charity.
You're big on data and analytics.
Oh my gosh.
Do you see any macro trends happening right now?
It's been an interesting few months. Because what I've seen kind of happening over the last few months, and I had brought this up on another conversation, watching the analytics looked very similar to the very beginning of COVID, which I found to be very interesting because during that time, it was like the big pause. I called it the big pause because we saw all the traffic. We just didn't see people converting. So what that meant was people were looking, they were trying to understand, they were seeking information, but they weren't pulling the trigger. And so we saw the same thing kind of leading up to the election. And I think that when you have, no matter which side you're on, everyone kind of going like, it's doomsday no matter what happens, it causes people to pause. And regardless, on the other end, similarly, now we're starting to see a wave of people. But I'm also seeing the beginning of December, right? Like this beginning of December time is always an interesting time. We get real busy around Thanksgiving, and then we get kind of this pause time right before Christmas. And then in our market, and I always caveat this because everyone's backyard's a little different.
Sure.
In my backyard, Christmas to New Year's is our biggest week of the year. We are extremely busy in both service and sales. It is go time, gangbuster time. We don't come up for air. You're lucky to, snarf down a piece of pizza that week.
It is.
But that's, so I would say it's a little more traditional. Now, what I have seen the last couple of years when looking at analytics that's been a little more interesting is I'm starting to see less people buying into hype. And what I mean by buying into hype is I don't see people buying into like Black Friday, for instance. We don't see that specific day being this huge car time. We just see the whole month, kind of people ask about it, but it seems to be spread out more. We seem to have people spread out more, and even in FixedOPS, right? Like people know now that there's twice a year that they can do the buy 3, get 1 free on tires, right? And so people go, hey, I'm going to wait till next month, and they'll flat tell you that, because isn't next month the month that you guys have that special rolling, right? So
they're savvy.
Yep. Yeah. And so that's what the internet has done, I think, is it's made that the hype less effective.
Listen, there's Black Friday, Online Monday, Best Deal Tuesday. I mean, it's like every day they're getting more and more. In one of the things that you at a breakout I heard you at Digital Dealer was we were talking about how the online traffic is increased, but the conversions have decreased.
Mm-hmm.
Why is that?
I think there's a lot of different reasons for it. But I think it goes to the idea that consumers are educating themselves way prior to wanting to actually do something. So we're getting, regardless of what it is, they're going to start looking at stuff way in advance. We also have a new generation of people who, don't do the walk-in. So we're starting to see trends where, before, baby boomers and some of the older folks, they're always going to pick up the phone and still call you and talk to you about things close to the time that they're going to do it. But then these younger generation, they're going to the sites, they're looking for all the information. They're not even close to decision-making time. They're just wanting to say, okay, how much are tires going to cost me? Because I know next year I'm going to have to do that. When I have conversation with my son, right? We like me, I'm like, okay, well, I know that's coming, but I don't necessarily look at how much it's going to be. I might ask a friend. I might say, hey, about how much does it cost to get tires? And that's a different conversation than what my son will do, which is go to the website and do the research and price out tires today, knowing he doesn't need them for another year.
No. Charity, I want you, this is a great question on Give Us.
Yeah, well, give us your insights on social media in the automotive industry. Are we any good at it?
No, we suck at it.
I knew that was coming. It is.
Suck at it so badly. And you know what? Quite frankly, I don't know that any of us have really truly figured it out. And part of the problem, I think, is that we overcomplicate it. The automotive industry, we have this tendency to overcomplicate everything and make it much more difficult than it needs to be. And we're just not willing to just do it like Nike says, right? Like just do it. It's not that difficult. But I'll give you a perfect example. So I have one of the smartest humans in the world that works for me. He does my SEO. And he sends me at least twice a week a picture from social media of somebody who just really jacked up, right? So last night I got a picture of a Robert Horne Ford ad with my Horne Mazda store as the background.
Oh.
Right? Now, I know how these things happen, right? This was probably a vehicle that was at my other store, got transferred to this store, is showing up in the feed, and the picture hasn't been updated by that new store yet. I mean, these are the things that happen, but because it's so time consuming to do the whack-a-mole with social media and making sure all these things work, most people throw in the towel. So we don't.
Yep. Yeah.
And the other part we miss out on is the organic social media. So that is the other place we miss out. Like you guys both know this, being in marketing like you are, regardless of FixedOPS variable, it doesn't matter. We all now subscribe and understand the importance that if you're going to do paid search, you need to do organic search, right?
Yes.
The SEO will 100% make your paid stuff on fire, right?
Yep.
Cost you way less money, get way more reach. Yet when it comes to social media, we don't do the same thing. We go out and we do the paid side, but we don't do the organic side. So we spend all this money to get these people to click on something, and then we don't give them the story to go along with it. So that is something we don't do a good job of. I try, and I would still tell you that I find myself barely middle of the pack when it comes to what we do.
Right. It's just so time consuming. It's so much work. You really need a dedicated person that's just in it. Just deep.
And you have to have the store has to buy into that. And if they don't buy into that, you don't get the dedicated person, which then means like everything else we do, it's, here just add another hat to, your internet director or what have you, because, they get to do a little bit of everything. So yeah.
When we obviously really believe the organic as well as the paid side, it's beyond me. Even stores that are doing that, when you click on something, what a disconnect. We see a huge disconnect. Well, that's not what I clicked on. And it requires a couple more clicks. And by then they're 3 clicks into it and they're going, you haven't even begun to serve up what they're looking for and they're out of there. Well, that's a waste. And I know today, most budgets for paid ads is probably for variable, less for fixed, because there's, no way to really quantify that. And then just a couple of months ago, I was listening to a program on Sirius XM radio that the average attention span is less than 5 seconds. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's all about connecting the dots, serving up the right content, the right message at the right time, which we obviously preach. And I know you do too, as well, April. And that's getting into, you just covered the digital marketing and paid ads, some of the stuff. I want to,
wow. So your camera's giving you a hard time today.
Yeah. So,
I've noticed with our social media, we do a lot better on organic than we do with paid. It's just way more successful to put the energy out, make the relationships, and put the effort into the networks every day. Whereas paid, it's really a shot in the dark. It's really a shot in the dark for us. I'm going to throw you a hard one, hopefully. What digital marketing vertical has the highest ROI in automotive?
Well, the first thing I would ask is it depends on what the goal is. Because too many times when somebody asks a question like that, it's to sell or service the car, right? Like that last point, attribution. And unfortunately, in automotive, we spend too much time looking at that last click and giving it 100% of the ROI. And that's just not the case. I don't think there's one specific thing that says, okay, here's the one aspect that will give you the best ROI. It's a combination of things. One of the things I've been really successful with is actually going further up the funnel and starting to get in front of customers way before they are ready. So to that point, right, get the click, because the click costs way more than the conversion if I wait to the end. And regardless of whether I'm talking again about sales or service, here's the problem. If I wait to the very end, if my only goal is to get that last click that's going to convert right here, right now, that click costs me a ton of money, but not just on the cost of the click itself. The only thing I have to talk to you about now is price. The only thing that can matter to you is price at this point, because you've already looked at everyone else's site. You've already had conversations with other people.
You know it.
So the human element of having a better value proposition comes from going further up the funnel and starting to have conversation with customers sooner rather than later. That's been my secret sauce. When people are like, hey, what's your number one thing? It's don't get caught up in this last click attribution, and understand that selling yourself and selling your dealership still matters more than anything else if you want to make money.
It does. It really does. It's all about that relationship again, knocking those walls down. That's one of the things you mentioned, is I remember very distinctly with the traffic going up, but the conversion, the calls to action going down, because in order to get a price, you got to give up information. People are just so freaking tired of that.
Mm-hmm. And to a certain degree, I'm a catch-22 on that, because I also know that if we don't have a conversation and I give you if my website does too much, then we lose that human element.
That's true.
But there is a catch-22 where I'm like, hey, I don't want to give you so much that we don't get to do what we do best, which is sell, right?
True.
And a computer cannot sell. So I still do believe in some lead gate action and not giving so much information that we take the human element out of it. And so it's a fine line. It is a fine line. But I do think, Charity, the most important thing to me is to go a little further up the funnel, get the click. And then I have this approach that I call the water torture, right? Like once you click, you're going to see me everywhere. Because for pennies, I can just make you, like, in the middle of the night, you wake up at 3 a.m., you're like, Horne. I see Horne everywhere, right? Like that's my goal, is so that
oh my God,
like it's time to sell or service. It's just the thing is so ingrained in your brain that's what you're looking to do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that strategy too, where you're really just blasting the internet with your face.
Now,
it works surprisingly well. Sometimes it's really fun to do.
Charity, be really, really careful and conscious of the one of the questions, which I think is the next one, if we got far enough into it. But when you start talking about this next thing, April, bar the door, because she's going to unleash on all this AI stuff out there. So,
well, you're a question ahead of me. So,
I'm sorry. Okay,
we'll get there though.
Okay.
Well, we're still on conversions, and I've read that they're your specialty. So what do you do to increase conversions? How do you address a problem where, we're not getting conversions? What do we do?
Good question.
My biggest piece of advice is really, really simple, and nobody does it. Like, nobody takes this advice. Even my own people, like, I have to really, like, force them to do it. Be a customer. If you really want to do a better job of converting customers, be a customer. Call your dealership, show up in the service lane, go on the website, try to schedule an appointment for sales or service. Pick a car and try to go through the process. Be a customer. You will see very quickly ways that you need to make change. And then, one of the other things, and Russell, you had kind of alluded to it, is this, the 404s or the multiple clicks.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And that sort of thing. You have to it's whack-a-mole all day, every day. unfortunately, and I don't mean to bust on the OEMs, but I'm going to bust on the OEMs a little bit because they have this tendency to push stuff to websites where we have no control over it. And their pages are some of the worst, where they put stuff up and then they forget they put it up. And then I've got 404s and I've got problems and I can't do anything about it. I can't take it down. I can't fix it. There's nothing my hands are tied. The best I can do is create workarounds in those situations. So
they're horrible.
Be a customer, go on your own website, go through your own phone, your own phone tree, make sure you can do the things, especially with service. I will tell you, this is where I got so passionate about FixedOPS and wanted to go down this rabbit hole. When I really started digging into data, this is what most people don't get. 80% of the customers going to my website or calling the dealership, it's for FixedOPS. So we spend all our time, our energy, our marketing on variable, but what we don't actually realize is the majority of what customers, the purpose they're going to your site is for FixedOPS. So go on to your chat, try to schedule a service appointment. If it takes too long, you've got a problem. And I've got that issue. I mean, lately we're going too far the other direction of trying to, let bots and stuff do everything. And it takes too long.
It does.
If I'm in there and I can't schedule an oil change in under 4 minutes, I'm out. And then what do? We let the customer call us. And then what do we do with that? We don't answer the phone.
Yep.
And they're not even doing that.
Why we're bleeding customers and losing customers to, the Jiffy Lubes of the world. Well, it's because we're not adhering to the 10-foot rule outside of the service lane. We're not talking to our customers, listening to our customers, saying hi to our customers, making sure they feel valued when they're desperately trying to reach out and do business with us.
Yeah, I've seen general managers and other people just try to schedule service, and they got so frustrated. And look, do you check your stuff out on your PC? How about laptops? How about phones? So the other day, this guy was getting so frustrated because there's a pop-up right in the middle of what he was looking at, and he said, "Russell, that's your stuff. I need to take that down, or that's not conducive to." I said, "It's not my stuff. It's your chat bot. It's following you around everywhere. So it needs to be responsive to each one of those devices, and sometimes it's not. It displays horribly different, etc. Or the proverbial 404. People hit that a lot, especially when you squeeze one side and you think you fixed something or added something. It blows it out over here, and it's like people aren't regularly checking. I know you are, but but
it's a whack-a-mole, Russell. I can tell you right now, you can go on, pull up all my sites, right? Especially here, and I guarantee you, on at least 50% of them, you'll find a problem because I do 100% of the time I go to them. And this goes out to vendors like yourself and others out there. Vendors all tell me now, "Oh, I'm a partner. And I'm like, okay, great. But do you inspect? Do you actually provide that same service? Do you have your people? No. You want the most clicks because you want to prove your value based on that, not the experience. So they'll shove stuff in there all the time. Because nowadays, unfortunately, once I okay you and I tell you, take that pop-up off. Chat is a perfect example. It's one of the few, right? But I said, okay, take it off mobile. I don't want it there. And they take it off. Do you know how long it is before it's back up?
Next day.
Sometimes next day.
Yeah. Or relatively soon, for sure. But yeah.
The next day.
Yeah.
But relatively soon. And sometimes they'll go around me, right? They'll go to the store and be like, "Hey, we see that this converts so much better. You guys took this thing down." And I'm like, "Yeah, we took it down because we still get the same amount of converting. It's just going to happen at a different place when it's better for the customer." So it is a fine line. Everybody wants to get credit for everything. And at the end of the day, dealers need to focus in on customer experience, because when we look at it from the end goal and work our way backwards, we always win. And the vendors who work together, right now I've got great vendors working together now to say, hey, you've got the ability to put this up here. Okay, can we fire chat through your thing so I don't have to have 3 pop-ups?
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But again, going back to the OEMs, they don't work with the others. So they just throw stuff on there and they'll cover stuff up. I mean, I had one the other day. It was the OEM. They are literally covering the apply filter button on the website. And guess what? I can't take it down.
Yeah,
I have to beg and plead to have them take it down.
Especially vendors. We like to pride ourselves if they're using another company for some of the stuff that we also do. We don't try to discourage that other than, well, you know what? Once you introduce us to them, you get out of the way, go do what you do, and we'll make sure we're aligned because ultimately we care about one thing. That's you. And ultimately all you care about is the guest, the customer, the experience that they have. And the worse the job is, I mean, it's all about data and it's all about the customer experience. That's where the future is going. I mean, really delivering that right content, that right message, and engaging them, building a relationship. I also agree, like on the phone, just as you can give them so much information, they make a decision, you never had a chance to engage with them. Mm-hmm. So there's a fine line there that you were talking about earlier, and people need to really understand what that is. I really think so. Yeah.
I agree. And it boils back to just, listening. It really does. I mean, customers will tell you what they need and what they want if you just listen.
Yeah, they will.
All right, I'm going to switch topics on you. Have you ventured into AI at all? What thoughts do you have on it? Do you foresee any issues with AI and automotive as the technology progresses?
I have a love-hate relationship with AI. I think that there's, again, what is too many times we look for the silver bullet, right? Like, here, can I just write a check that for something that's going to just make it so I don't have to do things anymore? I think about that cartoon, that, Wall-E movie, and we're all going to just get so, fat and lazy that we can't even walk anymore because, we just have this expectation of everything can be done for us. And we need to be careful of that because people still buy from people. Now, I do believe, and I do use AI already, and I have for quite some time for certain things, right? I think AI does a better job than a press 1 for sales, press 2 for service, right? I do think there's some capability where AI can take some of that, the heavy lifting off of that low-hanging fruit where you don't need to have a human to do that piece. But I do get nervous when we start talking about AI for things like SEO, where people are coming at you now and saying, look, I can give you this package for 1/8 of the cost of what you're paying right now. And the dealer doesn't have any idea that because it's being completely built by AI, that it's not as valuable. It's not going to pack the punch. The ROI is not going to be the same because of the way that Google reads those things and the duplicate content. And then I get really nervous. And here's where my nerves, where I get nervous about AI. The dealers hold the bag for all things compliance. And I don't care whether we're talking about the FTC type compliance, where we're talking about, truth in lending or these types of things, advertising compliance. But I'm also talking about co-op and what the dealer gets from the OEM for, the things that they're putting out there. And when you go in and you do creative and you use AI to build it, it's not always perfect. And if it's not perfect, then that means it's not compliant, because compliance doesn't have any gray area. It doesn't say, hey, it looks pretty cool, so we'll let it slide. It says, no.
Yeah, that ain't happening.
You are 3 millimeters of a half an inch off, and therefore you're turned down. Or your logo is not perfect, or your this isn't perfect. And so I get nervous when we start to utilize, everybody's excited to have this shiny new toy, but there's got to be checks and balances to it. Otherwise, you end up putting the dealer at quite a bit of risk whether you're talking about giving away free cars or you're talking about, compliance stuff with regards to creative.
April,
Again.
so many early on. I mean, this is, I think, 3 years this month that OpenAI ChatGPT came out.
Mhm.
And I mean, it's the solution for everything, which, a plug for Wendy and the human side of AI and all of us that are involved in that, because that's really a proven ground. And we've seen a lot of them come, and you've made some reference and comments to dealers are signing up left and right for AI type of stuff to only realize that it's really not. Or it doesn't make your job easier. It makes it more difficult. And it involves another ADD, another damn dashboard, right? It's something else you have to manage. Talk a little bit about that.
I really have loved the human side of AI and some of those conversations, because unfortunately, if we don't come together from both sides of the equation, vendors, I think all vendors, no matter what, have good intentions, right? I don't think they go out and say, I'm going to build this thing to make a dealer's life miserable.
No.
But what they don't realize is that when you say you're integrated, like there's a difference between being integrated for real and then the stop block. So if your solution still requires the human to go front to be that space in between, right? To take that baton toss from this thing to this thing, and your human goes, hey, I'm already dropping the ball and you're telling me you're going to solve it by being over here. I still have to take it from point A to point B. And if you're not capable of doing that, then your thing doesn't work. And that's where I think we have a lot of signing up and a lot of canceling, right? So a lot of people will sign up for the thing, but then ultimately cancel the thing because the human that needed to carry it from A to B didn't get trained, didn't understand it, didn't buy into it, because the vendor sold it as, well, you don't need the human because this is AI and it's going to do all these things for you and look how awesome it is. But ultimately, if I can't get the data from A to B, it doesn't work.
That's right.
So I think that's the real understanding again, is that we need to slow down before we speed up when it comes to AI. Ask more questions, really truly understand. One of the things I learned early on from the human side of AI that caused me a lot of pause was the open AI. What does the word open mean? Right?
Yeah.
You're share. It's not just I get. It means anything I put into it, I'm sharing with everybody else.
That's right.
So imagine this. I put my secret sauce into OpenAI because I want it to be a pretty, I want it to just look nice, right? And I say, hey, take this script and spit it out in this pretty fashion, right? I just want it to be nice. Well, now that means all my competition has to do is go to ChatGPT and to an AI and say, hey, tell me how to beat Horne Auto Group in sales, right? Like, think about it. So I know that's an extreme example, but it's
not really all that extreme,
right? But it's something we have to think about when you're thinking about open. It means I'm sharing everything that I put into that. Well, now I have to worry about not just I understand that, but does every one of my staff members understand that? Does the sales guy, the service advisor, the lot porter understand that if they put something proprietary to Horne Auto Group into ChatGPT, we are now sharing it with the world? Do they know and understand that? These are the risks and these are the things that are happening because AI is going faster than we can understand it.
Yep. It's incomprehensible. But I also know this, where just in the last year, a vendor did this and it was like, okay, you would discount them because it didn't really feel a need, but technology is moving so fast and AI is moving so fast. It is going to plug a lot of those holes. I mean, it will. It's going to evolve and just get better and better. It's not going to take 5 or 10 years. And I mean, we all see it right now. And for all of you out there that don't, listen, it's scary And the first thing I want to say, if somebody you're talking to calls themselves an AI expert, get out of that conversation, because there is no AI experts. This is like a new frontier. And I'm going to implore each and every one of you, spend a few minutes a day getting to know it. I still don't hardly understand any of it, but I know more probably now after 2 years than 95% of the population, because nobody's paying attention. They're scared. And I had some reservations, like April and the rest. I've had some reservations, but now I have more information, and some of my opinions have already changed, just like it has about EV. And we're not going to get off into the EV thing, but AI is huge, and it is going to be instrumental, and it is going to communicate, particularly from liability situations where somebody opts out, but the DMS is not. I mean, it just goes it goes on and on and on. You're an advocate of it. Is that correct?
Oh yeah, no, it's as much as I will be the first person to say, don't jump off into the ravine without without your parachute, right? You need to also be prepared to jump, because it is a way, going back to your question about ROI, right? It is one of the best ROIs out there, because you have so many great companies that are utilizing AI, and it does plug a lot of the holes, and especially in today's world where human capital is so difficult. It's so hard to find enough people, I mean, think about this. I just told you the service department doesn't answer the phone, but why do they not answer the phone? Just because they want to be jerks? No. They don't answer the phone because they're busy doing other things. They're busy taking care of a customer that's right in front of them, right? They're busy out in the shop talking to the tech to find out the ABCs of this RO they want to close. That's what's actually happening in the day-to-day. So it's important to understand that, yes, AI will help us with a lot of these things to bridge the gaps, to plug the holes. So don't be scared of it. The ROI is amazing, but you got to ask questions, and you got to understand that it's not the type of thing that you write a check and it just gets done. There's no Mr. Oz behind the thing.
But people thought that.
Yeah,
they did. I don't know this video, man.
I go past it again. Well, I'm going to skip through. We're getting so close to the end here, so I'm probably going to pick and choose a few more of these.
Oh, yeah.
What are you looking forward to in 2025?
I think the thing I'm looking most forward to in 2025 is really people getting back to work. I think it's going to be the year of excuses no more. I think that, we've had 5 years of excuses, right? Because we were in COVID, and then we didn't have inventory, and then we didn't have people, and then we didn't have this. And I just feel like we've been in this circling the drain of excuses. And I think 2025 is going to be the year where it'll be excuses no more. People who are willing to work will shine, and people who aren't will cease to be in the business anymore. And it's a tough thing, but in order for us to grow and evolve and be better, it's a necessary thing.
It is.
So it sucks, but it's exciting at the same time.
Yeah, we have a stigma that's been associated with us for decades. And people are really starting. I don't think it's just because of all the different rooms and people we engage with that think alike, but the old ways of managing with the old regime, understand those ways don't work anymore. You're going to have to be flexible and adapt. It's not just about 80 hours a week and making all the money you can. And if you take a day off because your wife had a baby and you want to go see your baby, and then they make you feel those days are over.
Yep. Well, and not just that, just also from a standpoint, honestly, on the other side, like almost too extreme the other way of like, I can show up late every single day, or it's kind of that part, Russell, but it's also the other side of just accountability to oneself to show up and do the job that you were hired to do, and not just being like, well, that's not okay. I want to be, paid 500% more for doing nothing, right? Like it's going to be, I look at 2025 of really being the year of balance.
Yeah.
Right?
I only show up 2 days a week late. I mean, come on.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, is there anything that we haven't asked you that you wish we had?
There's so much more here, but yes, please. Or we are.
I mean, there's always those things, right? That we talk about. And I think I'm just going to highlight the one thing that we touched on today that I just will really encourage every person who's listening to this to do. It is the one thing I talk about all the time. If you really want to impact what you're doing in your organization, be a customer, walk the shoes of your customer, do the things that your customers do. Don't look at it with your car girl, car guy hat, because we make decisions all the time based on what we would do, and what we would do is not what our customers do. I don't buy a car the way my customers do, right? Because I'm in the business. So you need to put on your customer hat, walk a mile in their shoes, and make decisions based upon those facts.
Wow.
Agreed.
Yeah, you heard it here. Listen, the time just went by, and Charity, I also had some additional questions too, but we certainly got a lot of substance there. April, we're honored and humbled that you came on the show today, and all of you. You're going to know when it's coming out, especially those that follow us. I know you're going to learn. Trust me, listen to him, the whole thing, the shorts, whatever's applicable, but you're going to hear some things that you thought you knew about April that you maybe didn't know. And we're all on our own journey. And of course, about the time this comes out, I'm going to say it and promote it anyway. April's going to be at NADA doing some breakout sessions. That's about when does this come out, Charity? Right about that?
The 6th, I believe, of January. Yes.
Oh, well, yeah, plenty of time. So, yes. And listen, like her, love her, share her, ask questions, engage with her. It's been, like I said, a real honor to have you on today. April Horne, hello. I'm going to edit
April
that out.
Simmons at Horne Automotive Group.
Right, okay. Horne Automotive Group. And Charity, thank you for all.
WTF, Russell.
I mean, what the? That's right. Another successful WTF. And that's what the Fixed Ops. All of you. Thank you for straightening me out, April. Have a blessed day, and all of you as well.
Thanks, April.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah.